Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today, you can't vibe code a reputation.
Mm,
In
right
this
to it.
age of AI that we are in, where the barriers to entry are lower than ever, and the cost of spinning up an MVP is lower than ever, reputation is emerging as the bulwark, the thing that becomes the new barrier of
Hmm.
if I don't know you and I've never heard of you and you're new, I trust you less than ever. And so it doesn't matter if you vibe coded at something last night and it's amazing. The
Yeah.
odds of me trying it are really low.
Yeah, and I think we can see this too in like the marketplaces for like iOS apps being flooded with vibe coded apps.
I mean,
Um,
those are already pretty flooded with
it was pretty
terrible, terrible
flooded,
stuff.
but now it's like hyper flooded. And I
Hmm.
actually I was joking with a friend of mine about this about the workout apps where
Mm.
like everyone's got like a workout. Well, a lot of people have workout app that they use and they record like how many reps they did, blah blah blah. And then there's some other little thing in there like, oh, if you want to see your history of your workouts, now you have to pay. And then
Hmm.
I was thinking to myself, oh, I'll just make my own app. That
Sure.
solves my problem. I don't want to pay this person. And then like three other people that I was talking to at some different point over the weeks were like, oh, I was going to make my own workout app. I'm like, okay, everybody's running into
Everybody.
this now, and so everyone's just like vibe coding their own solution. So now when I go and look at a workout app on the iOS store, I'm like, and there's like, there already was hundreds of them. No, I'm like,
Right.
this is all slop. It's the same kind of trust problem I've got now whenever I see an article and I start reading it and I see an M dash or I see a, you're not looking at so and so, you're doing so and so. That kind of wording, and I'm like, oh, this
Hmm.
is this is ChatGPT, isn't it?
That
And so
that
I
one
stopped
hurts me
reading.
because I use that phrase, and if you go look at my blog, which has got 8 years of history, you will see that I have always used this thing, before LLMs were even really uh, emergent. But you can tell an article. It's just the writing is bad. It's it doesn't get to a point. It's general. It's vague. It's wordy. It wanders around.
Yeah, and it's all the weird affirmation things like you're on to something special there, like whenever it responds and you're like, okay, like something's
Mm.
off about it. It's like the what is that, like the uncanny valley thing
Hmm.
for visual things, for seeing a face that just seems unnatural. It's like that but words. And
Yes.
when you read it you're like, something's off here. This feels which is like, it's almost like when the flood of YouTube influencers happened, and now and
Hmm.
you pull up your YouTube and there's just a ton of videos, and or in the early days it was just a bunch of random videos, right?
Right.
And you don't know who is actually got good content versus some kid just making funny noises and laughing and then turns off the camera. It was just random stuff, right? And then over time, like things started filtering out where like people who were actually good or entertaining or had value kind of floated up, and some people who I don't think have value, but I guess other people do. But
They fed them algorithm
right,
for whatever
but
value that is.
yeah, somehow it fed the algorithm. Um, but there was one particular area where it was just like a lot of videos could have no value,
Hmm.
right? And that's kind of where we're at now with AI, with published articles, with published apps, where now my trust is at an all-time low. You know,
Yes.
is this a good app? Is this a good article? Is this article written by a human even, or is anything I'm reading actually real, or is it just regurgitated stuff? Did someone just go, like as a when I was in college, uh, I briefly was in journalism, and you had to have your sources right for your article. So if something happened, you had to find different sources, live sources, dead sources, and then like make your own version of what's happening,
Hmm.
of your own retelling with these sources. And now, an AI can do that, right? Very easily.
Theoretically.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
I mean, it can still get it wrong or hallucinate, but um, it can just go in there and easily spit up. You could ask it, hey, take these 15 sources and write 15 articles about what happened, and it just bloop, that fast.
Yep.
And you can even say, hey, do it in the style of a sarcastic,
Right.
entertaining
You could have
YouTuber.
15 news sites
Yeah.
and you could have 15 different fake reporters, all with the
Yeah.
same base sources.
And I actually did this as a thought experiment. I spun up a website where I had I tried to retell it with like somebody from a very stoic fact based reporting versus like an opinion article, and it's very easy to do. Then after I did that, I started kind of feeling sad because I'm like, man, uh, I don't know what's real anymore. Are the Reddit comments that I'm reading on Reddit real? Are the YouTube comments real? It's like the dead internet theory, right?
I mean, YouTube comments have never been real because they were always. I mean, it's
Mm,
always been people spamming the comments for either spam or to reputationally spam.
uh,
Reputation, back to the point.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
One thing that I've noticed emerging is developers having AI write the right. Here's the ticket. Have AI write the ticket, and have AI do the fix, and then be like, "Here, can you approve this MR?" And
mm-hmm.
I look at it, I'm like, "You didn't review this." Like
Yeah.
it, and that is absolutely enraging. If you, I don't. It's not about can AI do the work or is it okay for AI. It's totally fine. Have AI do most of the work, but don't ask a human to review something that you also haven't reviewed
Yeah.
because it just shows that like, you're disrespecting my time because AI is not perfect and
Mm-hmm,
you have to double check it. I mean, I double check, going back all these years, decades, like before I do a pull request or even back
mm-hmm.
in the day, I would double check the thing. Like here's the diffs. I would double check it, and I would often catch goofs
Yeah.
in my own work. And of course, I'm awesome at my own work.
Okay.
And not doing that when you're doing AI and just passing off like, oh well, the AI did it, so here, can you approve this? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm
It's
not here to
passing off your
proofread you.
work essentially, because like if you have it generated, the bare minimum you can do is like boot it up locally and make sure like it runs. It solves the problem. Like you QA'd your own work. If you like literally said, "Hey, fix the thing," turned your head, and then like said, "Okay, it fixed the thing. I pushed it up. Can you review it?" And then like go get lunch. You haven't done anything. All you did is prompt. You didn't test any of your work, and then you're asking somebody else to review your work and test it for you. That's
Well,
kind of low.
this reminds me, decades of experience. I
Mm-hmm.
have absolutely worked with developers who would make changes and then ask for a review without running the tests. And this is before build pipelines were a thing, so we're talking
Mm-hmm.
early aughts. They would there'd be unit tests, but they wouldn't actually have run them,
Right.
and you would run them, and be like, "You, dude, your unit tests don't work. Like this, the build is broken." And like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
This doesn't even compile. They're like, oh, it's just a one line change, but they forgot a semicolon. You're like, dude.
right, you've asked me, it doesn't compile."
Yeah.
And I don't know that developers have gotten any less lazy since then. It's we've added build pipelines, and so the CI/CD will tell you, oh, that you didn't compile, and it's
Yeah.
just, huh? Like, did you run it?
Huh?
I mean, I guess that's the whole thing. It's like, did you run it? And so I
Yeah.
understand why this mentality is reemerging because it's always been there latently.
Yeah.
Uh, but the with the low quality software, and I think we've gone into this a little bit before, where reputation and permanence is more important than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't vibe code an email server. I mean, you totally can. You can totally vibe code an email server, and
Mm-hmm.
even if it's perfect, it won't work because no email provider will talk to it. They will
Right.
immediately black hole all the email from it as spam
Right.
because it doesn't have a reputation.
And I think that's kind of like and I kind of somewhat fell into this when AI first when I first saw the power of AI
Mm-hmm.
after agentic programming earlier this year. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting better than it was last year. Then I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, SaaS is dead. And I think a lot of people did. um, but then I thought, okay, there's some things like what you're talking about here with reputation, deliverability, um, that can't be vibe coded easily, or like partnerships. with like SMS deliverability and Twilio and these other providers,
Mm-hmm.
where someone's like, oh, I can just spin up this. I don't have to use Active Campaigns Automation Builder. I can just spin up my own automation builder and do that instead. There's still partnerships there. There's still reputation there, in the sense of actual reputation amongst people and reputation amongst like,
Right,
this
right. Yeah,
spam.
if you're using a Hotmail email address, the odds of anybody looking at your email is very low.
You're right. So there's
I don't
still,
know if Hotmail's still around. I think they got rid of it, but
I haven't seen the address in a while. I don't know. Maybe.
I think Microsoft rolled it into Outlook.com. But anyway,
Either way, yeah, there's some parts of that still, people knowing who you are is going to help you get ahead a bit, because
mm-hmm.
now I think it's similar with even applying for a job, right? Where like a lot of times the next job you get is who you know, like somebody helped get you in the door there, even if you didn't apply to work under. Like for me, I've tried to apply at places where there was a manager there that I worked with before, and I'm like, oh, I loved working under that person. They were a fantastic manager, right? Or if I have a friend who's at the company who's like, this place is, and they reached out to me and they're like, this place is awesome. I think you'd love it here. And then like they talk it up to their people, like, oh, Isaac, he'd be a great asset, blah blah blah, right? But now you've got a flood of people who
Mm-hmm.
can quote unquote program, or even fake responses during the interview,
Mm-hmm.
or fake, or go home and like vibe code the homework challenge that some people give engineers.
Hopefully
The
that's
trust
dead.
there, I don't know, because I haven't had to interview in a
Yeah, I
while.
haven't interviewed in a long time.
But either way, I knew it was a problem because I know you and I were at a conference one time,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about like how do you filter through all the people who are using AI to cheat, and we're like, oh, that's a thing. There was like a company that spun up
Right, and I
to do that. Yeah.
remember, yeah, we were at a conference, and there were like 3 or 4 companies who were all about using AI to, as they would put it, leverage your time, but
Yeah.
also to reduce the odds of the candidates cheating. And you and I were like,
This
"This
is a
is so
problem.
backwards." Well, no, it's so bad. Like
Yeah.
if you are trying to cast a wider net with less effort,
Hmm.
and yes, of course you are going to come up with garbage candidates. That's why that's part of casting as wide a net as possible. You need to
Yeah.
you need to use AI to cast a very small net or a spear. You need to be spear fishing instead of drift net fishing.
Excellent.
Yes.
I love how I get into these analogies.
Yes, we are deep in metaphors today, friends.
Uh,
And right, because if you're gonna go with AI writing your prompts, writing your job description, you're going to cast as wide as net as possible. You're
mhm.
going to get people, like at this point especially, the people you're going to get are people using AI to apply to every job. And then, of course, now you need to use AI to filter. And AI, it's most likely going to filter everyone who is actually unique because they're different. They're going to fall outside the params.
Yep.
And so, like, you're using AI to solve the problem created by AI without actually solving it. Like, but you haven't solved any problems. Like, you're
And
just back where you started.
I remember they asked like, how do you get good candidates, or how do you make sure the candidates that you're talking to are not like cheating? And I'm like, I just get on the call with them and like ask them questions, and they're like, well, where do you get your questions? I just come up with them. Like I'm just like I'm like
I,
here's a problem. How would you solve it? And I would just come up with some random question, random problem I've run into before, and just talk it through. And they were just like super perplexed by that idea. And I guess that because that probably doesn't scale at maybe the corporate level, but for me, I didn't have that problem.
it, it would. I mean, my go-to is I look at their resume and I ask them to talk about something on their
Yeah,
resume.
right.
And
Yeah, let's go into it.
dear God, I have stumped people. Not even like reaching back
Using
20
using
years.
their own history.
It's like, oh,
uh,
here's a thing that you said you did like 2 years ago. Tell me about that.
mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, I'm like, Jesus. Did you not expect to get asked about the resume?
Yeah,
This is the point of the resume. I mean, I've been curious about things that were on resumes that were 20 years old, and the people were like, I don't really remember the details that much.
yeah, that's
And I
fair.
believe that. That's fine. And I only asked because I was like, this thing here, that actually sounds really cool. Can you tell me about that? Like, I don't
Right.
remember so much. It was like this, and like, all right, cool. All right, let's talk about something recent.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. Either way, the that that reputation there and that networking is what kind of gets you in the door, right? Because now we're like even more skeptical than ever that the things we're reading are quality, the things that on the app stores are quality, the person we're talking to is quality, or who they say they are, because it becomes easier to kind of fake that.
mm-hmm,
And I was talking to my fiance Rebecca about this. Uh, I was asking her about like what kind of problems she's got in her domain, and she's in
mm-hmm,
like a health policy analyst. And so she starts hitting me with a ton of acronyms and all kinds of things that show that she has domain expertise in that area, right?
mm-hmm.
And so when I was thinking, oh, what ways can I help her solve problems in her area? I was like, I'm really, as an engineer, I don't know what I'm doing in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, you guys, I need to shadow them to understand their problems. That way I can help with a solution if they even need one. I'm looking for a
Mm-hmm.
problem to solve, right? Whereas
Right.
from her flow, she's got everything she needs. And I think also too, once Claude becomes more mainstream to non-tech people, and it is becoming that for her too, at some point she'll get to the area. And I've met one person, one non-techie person too, like this, who was like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to spin up the MVP myself," and they did,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't need any engineering knowledge. They just were they're they knew what they needed and they knew how to prompt well. And so I was like, "Ooh, this is
Right.
an interesting intersection we're at right now, where I can see the people who have domain level expertise. Why do they spend all the time trying to work with an engineer to solve the problem for at least the MVP? Because they're like, I got everything I need here. Especially if the
Mm-hmm.
engineer charges money. If it's just like an
Right.
engineer trying to help, sure, different thing. But if they're charging a ton of money and they go, well, let me see if I can get something myself booted up before I bring in the big guns. You know, they don't necessarily need that as much anymore, or at least that's where I see the trend. So the
Right. People
actual
building their own
knowledge,
tools.
yes, building your own tools, and not needing to spend so much money spending all this time communicating all the domain expertise they know to
Mm-hmm.
someone else, or playing telephone game to have it continue down the line. They have everything they need. They all the power is now with their domain expertise and the experts, I think.
Right. And I think it's an important thing to mention there. Right. So if I'm building a tool to solve my problems, and if I wasn't a technical person and Claude gave me something and it was from a technical standpoint garbage, but it worked for me in my flow and
Yeah.
it solved my problem, then it's a great solution because it
Right.
solves my problem. And if it doesn't scale, that's fine. Like, and if it's a good, if the tool turns out to be generally good, then it will get a reputation because I will share it, and other people find it useful, and it will get a reputation, and people will expand it, and that
Mm-hmm.
will be good. It's the idea of, oh, well, I have this problem and I need this tool, and therefore I'm going to use AI, and it's going to be a generally good tool that it's going to solve lots of people's problems.
Right.
No, that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is the same that it ever was. Of if you want something to go viral, solve a problem, and then people won't be able to stop talking about it. Right? Virality is a reputation.
Yes, that's a good point. It's um it's actually almost like anybody who's really trying to solve the problem and is very loud about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's That's the counterintuitive thing. Is like, oh, look at this thing that solves everyone's problems, and everyone's like, right. The more you try to push your own solution,
Mm-hmm.
especially like the word used there, like general solution, in this era where everything is very niche and everyone's like a custom coded solution because it's easier to do that now than it
Yeah.
ever was. That those that actually solve the problem, they get talked about for you. You don't have to advertise it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it actually solves the problem. And I remember this was like there was a similar thing we talked about in prior episodes with working and shadowing the operations team.
Right.
And like I found out, oh, they're doing all this manual stuff. And now that I'm here and I see what they're doing, I can use, at the time this is before AI, I can write some code that will help solve their problem. And I think we're in a really great era now where there's the ability to, because like every company's got their own like internal tools and their own internal
Mm-hmm.
admin dashboard where they can do this or that, but they're all very different by company because they're custom little things coded to solve tiny little problems here.
Mm-hmm.
Arc. All the
Well, and
tools
they're
of
all
Arc.
emergent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you can have a conversation about, oh, well, what's your control plane like? And
Yep.
people will know what you're talking about. Hopefully, people will know what you're talking about. But like everyone's got their own
Mm-hmm.
until
And
somebody writes a book and says, okay, these are the things that you need for like for observability. Right. There was a
yeah.
long time where yes, everyone had needed observability and people had metrics and people had logs, and then somebody came up with open telemetry.
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it emerged. And it's like, okay, now OpenTelemetry has emerged. It has this reputation. You could not have vibe coded the OpenTelemetry spec or the concepts
Mm-hmm.
because nobody would have bought in because it didn't have it. Like reputation emerges. You can't. It does not. You cannot have reputation emerge
Yeah.
like Athena from Zeus's head. You you have to.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I forgot the axe part where. Uh,
Uh,
anyway.
I love when we get into this.
Yes, we're getting long too.
You cannot vibe code reputation. Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot vibe code reputation, I think, is bringing it back. And
Yeah.
so putting in the work,
Mm-hmm.
solving problems, right? Outcomes over everything.
Solving the problem, solving real problems that people really experience versus ones that you assume or hope or predict they will experience will always be preferred
Yeah.
and will speak for you. All right. Any last comments about vibe coding reputation?
No. Well, this podcast started off with no listeners, and now we have dozens, even.
Dozens.
Yes, we've earned that reputation.
We didn't
We will
vibe
have
code
to
the
look.
people.
We did not vibe code the people, but we could have. We could have hired bots to inflate our numbers,
And it would have fallen off as soon as the money stopped flowing to the hired
and it would
bots.
have fallen off. Like it wouldn't have gotten us anything. It would have been entirely vanity metric
Yeah.
of pain. But so yes, don't hire bots to inflate your metrics that they're not real. Also, it's all about reputation, real reputation. Awesome. All right, thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.